Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Tuesday, and all today's guests, including Craig Button, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Call them directly, 250-248-8333 in Parksville, or visit BaysideResortParksville.com and book your winter escape today. Canucks lose in overtime to the Habs. Canada fails again to medal at the World Junior Championships. Here to talk about all of that, TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. Craig, thanks for doing this, sir. Happy New Year. How are you?
I am good, Donnie and Rick, and Happy New Year to both of you.
Absolutely. Canucks lose in overtime to the Habs. They blow a third-period lead for the sixth time this season. But I got to ask you this, Craig. This came right through our television sets last night. Is the Bell Center the best place to watch an NHL game these days?
I think it is. I think that the passion of the Montreal Canadiens fans, it courses through their veins. You know, the Forum, the Montreal Forum used to be called the Cathedral of Hockey, and you know, you go to that arena, and it starts in the warm up. They're beating drums, they're singing, and I don't think that there is a better arena when the Montreal Canadiens are playing well and there's an excitement for the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think there's a better arena in the NHL.
Yeah, and of course you spent a lot of time living in Montreal, Craig. Hey, how would you compare two players who were on the ice last night in Montreal, Lane Hutson to Quinn Hughes?
It's funny. You know, they're both very funny because I think they're very different. Not funny because they're premier offensive defensemen. You know, Quinn goes about it a very different way. Quinn is deceptive with his skating, and he can hold the puck. And you know, people look at Quinn and go, "Oh, he's not that tall," but his lower body leverage is significant. And I think that Quinn, with the power that he has, you know, can push his way into areas a lot more forcefully. Lane beats you up with his mind. He's got this great deception quality in his game. He fakes, and he's got great edge work. So does Quinn. But when I look at the two of them, like you see real significant intelligence, creativity, confidence. But I think they go about it a little bit differently. The one thing that they both have in common is they don't give up the puck freely. They always believe that there's another play out there that they can make, and they do make it. It's not like they're just always trying to make that play. They understand where their options are, and then they take advantage. But when you have defensemen that can hold the puck and make plays and really draw defenders in and open up the ice for others, I mean, that's a pretty special quality, and I don't think there's any question they both possess that quality.
Craig, what do you make? It's hard not to hear it. The whole NHL's talking about it. Miller Pettersson possibly available in trades by the Canucks. They don't get along. I mean, you've been covering hockey for decades. What do you make of this whole situation about these two not getting along and possibly being traded by the Canucks?
Yeah, I think, Rick, you get to a reality where you try to make a situation that might have some friction to it, and you try to find a way to make it tenable. And then as you go and evaluate it, like the Vancouver Canucks have done, you start to recognize maybe it isn't tenable, and maybe we have to make a change. So I think that's where the Vancouver Canucks find themselves with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. And I think you're always going to have challenges in area, like individually, collectively, with a team, with your family, in your workplace. Everybody's going to have challenges. Everybody's going to come across problems. Success depends on finding solutions to those challenges and problems. And I think that the Vancouver Canucks are looking now that they have to find a solution. You want to find it internally. You want to find a way to work it out. But sometimes you reach the conclusion that it can't be worked out. So now change becomes necessary. And I think that's where the news of them both being available, one of them being available, trying to gauge what the interest around the league would be. I think that's where we find ourselves. And I think it's warranted based on everything we've seen. I mean, there was a time here when it was reported, and to me, there's been no dispelling of the reporting. In fact, all it's done is just confirm that what's been happening with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, there's real accuracy to it. And the Vancouver Canucks have to deal with reality.
Craig, World Juniors, from a Vancouver perspective, I'd like to get your thoughts on Tom Willander and what you thought about how he played for Sweden.
I think Tom Willander played really well. I thought that Sweden was I didn't think they were a really good team. They were well coached. I thought they played really well. I, I they had their New Year's Eve game versus Czechia, and they really took control of that game and really played well. And then they had their game against Latvia. And yeah, it was a 3-2 game, and we can look at it and go, oh, Latvia came close to pulling an upset. Not really. They had 2 shots on goal in the third period, and Sweden had full control of the game. My concern with Sweden, and then I'll get to Tommy in a second, is it almost like there was a self-contentment. They're like, oh, yeah, look at how we can play. Look, we can do this. They weren't really being pushed by Latvia. And then when they got to the medal round and they had to play Finland and they had to play Czechia again, I don't think that they were ready for that next stage. They played so well up to that point. And I think that Latvia game hurt them a little bit in terms of carrying play. But, that like I call it self-contentment. Oh, look at how contented we are and really being pushed. As for Tommy's a big-time competitor. Tommy wants to make a difference in the game. I thought from game 1 through to the end that his game got better and better and better. And I think he's going to be a real solid player. I've compared him to Charlie McAvoy. I think he's got that type of game in him. I think he's got that type of competitive spirit. And I think he's a really smart player that's going to come in and be a real significant player for the Vancouver Canucks for a lot of years.
So Canada fails to medal for a second straight World Junior tournament. Craig, is there something, and you've probably answered this question a million times, I'm still going there, is there something our country isn't doing well at the development level that maybe the Americans are?
No, not at all. I think there's a massive overreaction to having the wrong coach with the team. The bottom line is, it wasn't the selection process of the players, it was the selection process of the coach. The coach absolutely did a poor job. He did a poor job in every regard. And it's under the coach's domain for discipline to put players in the right positions and to direct the team. And he did. All but 2 of those players that were selected that team have won with their club teams and wearing the Maple Leaf, and in a lot of cases, multiple times. Like, to me, this was a coaching issue through and through and through, and there's no other place. They have to evaluate why they chose him and to make sure they don't choose a coach that will help. That's the wrong way to put it. That will put a team to underperform. Coaches can help a team perform at a higher level. Coaches can also bring a team down. That's what happened here. In my view, there's nothing more. There's no USA doesn't have a full-time junior coach. David Carl coaches at Denver. What they have is David Cameron did not have enough familiarity with the players. He did not know how to use them. He did not know where to put them. He did not know how to utilize them. He did not deal with the discipline issues that they had, and that was the problem with this team. I think there's a massive overreaction. We got to do things. 6 years. In the last 6 years of the World Junior Tournament, Canada's won 3 gold medals, and the USA's won 3 gold medals. So let's keep things in perspective. And what Hockey Canada has to learn is the process of selecting the coach. Dave Cameron was the wrong coach, and it reflected in the play of the team.
Craig, thanks so much for this. We appreciate it so much. We'll talk to you next week.
We will. Thanks.
You bet. Happy New Year again.